Okay, folks, welcome back. You know how much we love getting into the nitty-gritty about the newest phones, the latest and greatest cameras, those crazy fast processors?
Right.
Well, with the brand spanking new Samsung Galaxy S25 series, the S25, the S25 Plus, and the S25 Ultra.
Yeah.
There's another thing we got to talk about.
Yeah.
Something called the specific absorption rate.
Right.
Or SAR for short. Think of it as like a way to measure the radio frequency energy that your body absorbs from the device.
So basically how much of those radio waves are actually getting into you.
Exactly.
Wow.
And we've got some pretty interesting data about these new models straight from RF Safety that we're going to dive into today.
Yeah, this should be good.
All right.
That's
so
fine.
SAR, like, what is it really?
Yeah.
It's measured in watts per kilogram.
Right.
And it basically tells us,
It's a ratio.
yeah, how much of the radio waves coming out of your phone
Yeah.
are being absorbed by, like,
Body.
your body tissues when you're using it.
Right.
And, the FCC here in the U.S.,
Of course.
they set a safety limit of
Yeah.
1.6 watts per kilogram
1 point.
for both the head and body. So
Important. Listen.
our mission today in this deep dive is to really look at those reported SAR numbers
Yeah,
for each of the S25 models.
definitely.
So we're going to compare them to the FCC limit
Right.
so that you have a clear understanding of where they stand
Give me the breakdown.
without,
Yeah.
getting too bogged down in the technical stuff.
The nitty gritty.
Exactly.
We'll keep it nice and clear.
We want to make
Easy to understand.
easy to understand. So
Accessible.
accessible for everybody.
Exactly.
All right, let's jump right in.
All right.
We're going to start with the Samsung Galaxy S25,
Okay. The base model.
the base model.
Yeah.
RF Safety reports that when you're using just cellular,
It's just calls and data.
just your basic phone stuff, the SAR value for the head is 1.112 gigagrams.
Okay.
For the body, it's 0.73 gigagrams.
So lower for the body.
And in hotspot mode,
Interesting.
it's 1.13 gigagrams.
All right. Now, so those are all cellular only.
Cellular only.
Yeah.
Here's where things get a little more interesting.
Okay, I like where this is going.
When you're using both cellular and Wi-Fi simultaneously.
So both radios are going.
The reported head SAR goes up to 1.35 gigagrams.
All right.
The body reaches 1.39 gigagram. And hotspot mode also sits at 1.39 gigagram.
Interesting.
So you can see that there's a bit of a jump
Right.
when both of those radios are active.
Yeah, it makes sense that the more signals the phone's putting out, the higher the SAR could be.
Yeah, and it's important to keep that in mind as we look at these numbers.
Absolutely.
Now, RF Safety actually ranks the S25.
Oh, they have a ranking system.
They do. They have a ranking system.
Right.
And they rank it at number 41
41.
among all the devices they've tested.
Wow. Okay.
And they point out that the head SAR in cellular-only mode is about 70% of that FCC limit.
So well within the guidelines.
Yeah, still well within those safety guidelines.
It's okay. That's good to know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And even when you have both cellular and Wi-Fi running, which, let's be real,
It's like most of the time.
that's most of the time these days,
For sure.
the S25 still stays comfortably below that 1.6 kilogram threshold.
Okay, good.
So that's good news.
That is reassuring, yeah.
Now, just to give you a quick rundown of the phone itself.
Right, because we're not just talking about radiation here.
Yeah, exactly. SAR is only one piece of the puzzle.
It's the whole package.
So the S25 is expected to have
Yeah.
around a 6.1
Okay.
to 6.2 inch dynamic AMOLED display.
Sounds pretty standard.
Pretty standard these days.
Yeah.
With that super smooth 120 hertz refresh rate.
Ooh, silky smooth.
Gotta have it.
Right. Gotta have that smooth scrolling.
The camera system
Yes. Everyone wants to know about the cameras.
is likely going to be a triple lens setup.
Okay.
Pretty versatile.
Classic.
And the main sensor is probably going to be somewhere between 50 and 108 megapixels.
Oh, wow. That's a pretty wide range, though.
Yeah, we'll see what they end up going with.
Interesting. I'm curious to see where they land.
And of course, powering it all.
Yeah.
We're probably looking at a battery around 3,800
Okay.
to 4,000 milli.
Decent size?
Decent size
Yeah.
with fast charging capabilities.
Of course. Gotta have that these days.
Gotta have it.
Yeah.
Inside, we're probably looking at either a Snapdragon or an Exynos chip,
Right. Depends on the region.
depending on where you are in the world,
Mm-hmm.
paired with 8 gigabytes of RAM.
All right. That's pretty standard.
Pretty standard.
Yeah.
And of course,
Connectivity.
all the latest connectivity,
To have it.
5G,
Yeah.
Wi-Fi 6E, or maybe even 7.
Oh, wow. Wi-Fi 7 already.
We'll see what happens.
That's cutting edge.
Bluetooth, 5.x, NFC,
Yep.
all that good stuff.
The whole shebang.
Expect those slim bezels we all love.
Yeah, gotta have those tiny bezels.
And have 'em.
Gotta maximize that screen real estate.
An improved in-display fingerprint scanner
Nice.
and support for all the usual network types.
All right, so a pretty solid package overall.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Now going back to the RF exposure.
Right. That's what we're really here for.
Yeah, that's the big thing.
Sorry.
The report highlights something pretty interesting about the S25.
Okay, what is it?
So if you just turn off Wi-Fi and Bluetooth when you're not using them,
Okay.
you could see a reduction in RF exposure.
So like when you're just, reading a book or something.
Yeah, exactly.
And you don't need to be connected.
You don't need to be connected.
Okay.
You could see a reduction of approximately 17% at the head, a pretty significant 47.5% at the body,
Wow, that's a big difference.
and 21.9% when you're using it as a hotspot.
Interesting.
So that's pretty substantial.
Yeah, those are some serious reductions, especially for the body.
Yeah, it makes you think about like how those connections are really contributing to that exposure.
Absolutely, it's food for thought for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next phone in the lineup.
Yep.
The Samsung Galaxy S25 Plus,
The plus, the bigger brother.
the bigger brother.
Yeah.
What did the SAR figures look like for this model?
Well, for the S25 Plus, we're looking at cellular-only SAR values of 1.20 wb-kilograms for the head,
Okay.
0.83 wb-kilograms for the body, and 1.19 wb-kilogram in hotspot mode.
So pretty similar to the base S25.
Yeah, they're in the same ballpark.
But what happens when we introduce Wi-Fi into the mix?
Ah, yes, the simultaneous mode.
Exactly.
So when the phone is using both cellular and Wi-Fi, the head SAR for the S25 Plus jumps up to 1.59 wb-kilograms.
Wow, that's getting pretty close to the
Yeah.
FCC limit.
Yeah, almost there.
The body SAR goes to 1.58 wb-kilogram. And the hotspot mode also comes in at 1.59 wb-kilogram.
Interesting.
So again, a
Yeah.
noticeable increase
Definitely a pattern here.
when both radios are firing.
Makes sense.
Now, RF Safe ranks the S25 Plus at number 49 in their comparison.
Okay, a little higher than the base model.
Yeah, a little bit higher.
Interesting.
And they note that the cellular-only head SAR is about 75% of that FCC limit.
All right, still within the safe zone, though.
Still within the safe zone.
Good.
But it is worth noting how close
Yeah.
those simultaneous values are getting,
Right, especially the head and hotspot.
especially for the head and hotspot modes.
Getting up there.
That limit.
It makes you wonder what's going on inside the phone to cause those higher readings.
Yeah, it's definitely something to be mindful of.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about the S25 Plus itself.
Okay, what are we looking at here?
What can you expect from this phone?
Feature-wise,
We're probably looking at a larger display.
bigger than the base model.
Yeah, probably in the 6.6,
Okay.
6.7 inch range.
Right.
Still a dynamic AMOLED.
Gotta have that AMOLED.
You have it.
Yeah.
With that smooth 120 hertz refresh rate.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Camera setup is expected to be either an enhanced triple or maybe even a quad camera system.
Quad camera, that's getting fancy.
Got to keep pushing the boundaries.
Yeah, gotta stay
The
competitive.
battery should also see a bump up.
Okay, so bigger battery too?
Bigger battery.
Makes sense with the bigger screen.
Yeah.
Gotta power that thing.
Probably around 4,500
Okay.
to 4,700 milliamp,
Yeah, that's a decent size.
and it'll likely run on the same chip as the S25.
So same performance.
Same performance,
Okay.
but potentially with more RAM and storage options.
More RAM, more storage, always good.
You might be able to get up to 12 gigabits of RAM with this one.
Wow, that's a lot of RAM.
Gotta have it.
Yeah, power users rejoice.
And of course,
Connectivity.
it'll have the full suite, 5G,
Yep.
Wi-Fi 6E or
So
7,
that's the latest Wi-Fi.
Bluetooth 5.x,
Yeah.
NFC, the whole shebang.
All bells and whistles.
Design-wise,
Yeah.
you can expect a larger form factor than the S25.
Yeah.
Bigger screen, bigger phone.
Bigger phone,
Makes sense.
but with potentially even narrower bezels.
Oh, even smaller bezels.
Yeah. Gotta keep pushing the boundaries.
Yeah, they're going to disappear eventually.
They're gonna disappear soon.
It'll just be all screen.
All screen.
Pretty.
Now, looking back at the data for the S25 Plus, we see that turning off Wi-Fi and Bluetooth
Yeah?
can reduce your RF exposure
By how much?
by a significant amount.
Okay.
We're talking 24.5% at the head. Again, pretty substantial, 47.5% at the body.
Wow, same as the base model.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And 33.6% in hotspot mode.
Okay, so a little more than the S25 there.
Yeah, a little bit more.
Interesting how that varies.
So again, turning off those radios when
Yeah.
you don't need them
This is a good idea.
can make a real difference.
Yeah, especially if you're concerned about exposure.
Especially if you're concerned about that exposure.
Absolutely.
All right, let's move on to the big kahuna.
Okay, the top of the line. The Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra.
The Ultra, the one with all the bells and whistles.
Well, the bells and whistles.
Yeah.
What are the SAR numbers looking like for this powerhouse?
Well, for the S25 Ultra, the cellular-only SAR values are reported as 1.26 Webby kilograms for the head,
Okay.
0.78 Webby kilograms for the body, and 1.19 Webby kilograms in hotspot mode.
So again, pretty similar to the other two models.
Yeah, they're all in the same general range for cellular only.
Right. But what about when we add Wi-Fi to the equation?
Ah, the simultaneous scenario.
Simultaneous mode.
So in simultaneous operation, the head SAR for the S25 Ultra goes up to 1.59 Webby kilograms.
Wow, that's right up there.
Almost at the limit.
Yeah, almost at the limit.
Yeah.
The body SAR reaches 1.48 a Webby kilogram.
Interesting.
And a hotspot mode comes in at 1.48 Webby kilogram.
So again, pretty close to that FCC limit,
Pretty close.
especially for the head.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see that trend across all three models.
Yeah, it's definitely a pattern.
Makes you think about how using both cellular and Wi-Fi simultaneously really can push those numbers up.
Yeah, and RF Safety ranks the S25 Ultra
Right.
at number 51 in their comparison.
Okay, so the highest of the three?
Highest of the three.
Interesting.
And they point out that the cellular-only head SAR is about 62.5% of the limit.
So still well within the guidelines.
Still well within the guidelines.
Okay, good.
But again, it's important to be aware
Right.
of those simultaneous mode numbers.
Absolutely. Awareness is key.
Now, what makes the Ultra so ultra?
Let's hear it.
Well, we're talking about a massive display,
Okay, how massive are we talking?
6.8 inches
Wow, that's a big phone.
Or larger.
They're larger.
or larger.
Okay, they're not messing around.
Edge dynamic AMOLED.
Gotta have those curved edges.
Got to have those curved edges.
Yeah.
And potentially an even faster adaptive refresh rate.
And even smoother than 120 hertz.
Maybe even up to 144 hertz.
That's gonna be insane.
Buttery smooth.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
Camera system is likely to be a very advanced quad lens setup.
Oh, wow. Quad lens.
Yeah, they're really packing it in.
That have all those cameras.
Headlined by a
Yeah.
200 megapixel main sensor.
200 megapixels? That's incredible.
Incredible.
Yeah, what are you going to do with all those megapixels?
I don't know, but I want them.
Right.
And an impressive periscope zoom.
Oh, yeah, gotta have that zoom.
Gotta have it.
Yeah.
Battery's gonna be around 5,000 milliamp.
Okay, that's a big battery.
Big battery.
Makes sense for all those features.
You gotta power all those features,
Yeah.
and it's gonna have super fast charging.
Of course, gotta have that.
Gotta have it.
Yeah.
Performance-wise, we're talking top-the-line Snapdragon or Exynos,
The best of the best.
the best of the best.
Okay.
Paired with 12 to 16 gigabytes of RAM.
Wow, that's a lot of RAM.
A lot of RAM.
Yeah, this phone's a beast.
And storage options,
Mm-hmm.
potentially going all the way up to 1 terabyte.
1 terabyte, that's more than my laptop.
It's a beast.
Crazy.
And you'll get all the connectivity you could ask for.
Yeah.
5G,
Yep.
Wi-Fi, 6E or 7,
Yeah, I bet.
Bluetooth 5.x, UWB,
Yeah.
NFC,
Oh, yeah.
everything.
The whole 9 yards.
And of course, it's going to have a premium glass and metal build.
Yeah, I got look good.
Gonna look good.
Yeah.
And the integrated S Pen support.
Oh, yeah, the S Pen. That's a classic Ultra feature.
I have it. Yeah.
For all those power users out there.
Right.
All right, so this phone is a true flagship.
It's a beast.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Now, the data for the Ultra shows that once again, turning off Wi-Fi and Bluetooth
Yeah.
can reduce your RF exposure.
Okay, what are the numbers looking like for this one?
We're looking at a reduction of 20.8% at the head, 44.3% at the body,
Okay.
and 24.4% in hotspot mode.
Interesting. So pretty consistent with the other models.
Yeah.
Pretty consistent.
It really highlights the impact of those wireless connections.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
So across the whole S25 lineup?
It seems like being mindful
Yeah.
of when you have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth enabled
Right.
can make a real difference.
It's a simple change, but it could have a noticeable effect.
Yeah, it's all about being aware and making informed choices.
Absolutely.
Now let's step back for a second
Okay.
and talk about why SAR matters in the first place.
Right, let's get back to the basics.
Yeah, the big picture.
Why should we care about this?
So as we mentioned,
Yeah.
the FCC has this rule
Mhm.
that phones can't exceed 1.6 watts per kilogram.
That's the magic number.
That's the magic number for head or body SAR.
Okay.
And all 3 S25 models, whether they're using just cellular or cellular and Wi-Fi together,
Okay.
they all stay below this limit.
So they're all compliant.
They are compliant.
Good.
So that's good news.
It is good news, and it means they're meeting those safety standards.
Right, but
there's always a but.
There's always a but.
It's also important to remember that children, they're still developing.
Are different.
Exactly. Their skulls are thinner, and some experts believe that they might absorb more RF energy because of that.
So it's generally recommended
Yeah.
to limit prolonged close contact with wireless devices for younger users.
Especially holding the phone right up to their head.
Especially hold the phone right up to their head.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So that's something for parents to be aware of.
Definitely something to keep in mind.
And as we've seen in the data, for all 3 models,
Yeah.
using both cellular and Wi-Fi
Right.
does generally result in higher SAR levels
Yeah, we suffer
compared to just using cellular. So that's something to keep in mind.
Definitely.
You're trying to minimize your RF exposure.
Yeah, if that's a concern for you.
Okay.
All right.
So what can people do?
Right, so what can we do about all this?
Yeah, what are some practical steps
Are there any practical tips?
that people could take
Yeah, any actionable advice?
to potentially reduce their exposure?
Yeah, because it's one thing to know the numbers,
Right.
but it's another thing to know what to do about them.
Exactly.
So what can people actually do?
Well, the first tip,
Okay.
and this is supported by the data we've seen,
Yeah.
is to simply turn off Wi-Fi and Bluetooth
Okay.
when you're not using them.
When you don't need them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a small habit,
It is a small change.
but it can make a difference.
It can, especially based on what we've seen.
Yeah, those numbers don't lie.
Those numbers are pretty compelling.
The next tip
Okay, what's number 2?
is when you're on a call,
Yeah.
consider using speakerphone
Okay.
or wired headphones.
Right, create some distance.
Create some distance between the phone and your head.
Between the phone and your beautiful head.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because that can reduce the potential for RF energy absorption,
That's sense.
right, in that area.
Yeah.
Tip number 3
Okay, number 3.
is to be mindful of where you carry your phone.
Where you keep it.
So avoid keeping it directly against your body,
Like in your pocket.
like in your pocket for
Yeah.
extended periods,
Right, especially if you're not using it.
especially if you're not actively using it.
Yeah.
And finally, the report from RF Safety mentioned RF blocking accessories,
Okay, like cases and stuff.
like cases, things like the Quantic case.
Quantic case, all right.
Now, we're not endorsing any specific products here,
Of course not.
but it is worth knowing
Yeah.
that these types of accessories are out there
Right, for people who are really concerned.
for those who have heightened concerns about RF exposure,
Yeah, they want that extra layer of protection.
and they want to explore those additional protective measures.
Makes sense.
So we've talked about SAR.
We have.
We've talked about these different tips, but let's quickly recap
Okay.
the S25 lineup,
The whole lineup.
just so everyone's clear
Yeah, let's summarize it.
on the key features of each model
And who they're for.
and who they might be best suited for.
All right, sounds good.
So the standard Galaxy S25,
Okay.
we're talking roughly 6.1 to 6.2 inch dynamic AMOLED display,
The standard size.
a standard size versatile triple camera system,
Classic.
around a 4,000 milliwatt battery,
Decent size.
flagship level Snapdragon or Exynos
Powerful.
with 8 gigabytes of RAM.
Okay.
And this one's really for someone who wants a powerful top-tier phone, but in a more pocketable size
Yeah, for everyday use.
for everyday use.
Okay.
Then we have the Galaxy S25 Plus.
Like a plus. A plus.
What's that one packing it?
It steps up with a larger 6.6 to 6.7 inch display.
Bigger screen.
Still dynamic AMOLED.
Gotta have it.
Potentially an enhanced triple or even a quad camera system.
Oh,
A
camera.
larger battery.
Okay, how big are we talking?
4,500 to 4,700 milliliter.
Nice, that's a good size.
Similar flagship performance.
Okay, so still powerful, but potentially with up to 12 gigabytes of RAM.
Oh, wow. Even more RAM.
And this one's a great option for users who want that bigger screen,
Yeah.
longer battery life,
Makes sense.
but without the bulk
Right. Not everyone wants a giant phone.
and the added features.
And
The price tag,
Passport.
the Ultra, and then of course we have
yeah.
the Galaxy S25 Ultra,
The big one.
the big one,
Yeah.
expansive 6.8 inch
Wow.
or larger
A large
edge dynamic AMOLED display,
all screen.
pretty much all screen.
Yeah.
That impressive 200 megapixel main camera
So many megapixels.
with advanced zoom capabilities.
Gotta have that zoom.
Robust 5,000 milliamp battery
Yeah, that's a beast.
with super fast charging.
Gotta have it.
Absolute top-of-the-line performance
No compromises.
with up to 16 gigabytes of RAM.
Wow, that's insane.
And of course, the integrated S Pen.
The S Pen, gotta have it.
This one's for the power users.
Yeah, the people who want the best of the best.
The mobile photography enthusiasts.
The people who need all the features.
And anyone who loves the S Pen.
All right, so there's a phone for everyone in this lineup.
Is it a phone for everyone?
It's a good lineup. I'm impressed.
Now, in terms of overall safety compliance,
Right, back to the SAR.
back to the SAR,
Yeah,
it's important to remember
Yeah.
that even when those reported SAR values are at their highest, especially with the Plus and the Ultra,
yeah,
in simultaneous mode,
right. When both radios are gonna...
all three phones stay within the FCC's 1.6 double kilo limit.
So they're all good.
They are all good.
That's reassuring.
So that should provide some reassurance
Definitely.
for anyone who's considering buying these devices.
Yeah, it's good to know that they're meeting those safety standards.
So to wrap things up
All right, let's bring it home.
in this deep dive,
Yeah.